On a peaceful afternoon, the sun filtered gently through the trees, illuminating a small playground bustling with laughter and the sounds of children at play. Swings creaked, a merry-go-round spun lazily, and parents chatted while keeping watchful eyes on their little ones. The idyllic scene, however, was about to be disrupted by an unexpected and tense confrontation. Walking along the stone path that encircled the playground was Diana Carter, a 55-year-old woman of unassuming appearance but with a calm authority that commanded respect. Diana, a rear admiral in the U.S. Navy, was enjoying a rare day off from her rigorous duties, wearing a white shirt and dark blue jeans, her salt and pepper hair tied back neatly. She could have easily been mistaken for an ordinary passerby. Few would guess that she was a seasoned leader who had guided hundreds of sailors at sea. Diana believed that true leadership wasn't about titles or medals, but about treating people with fairness and kindness. She was deeply involved in her community, frequently volunteering for programs that supported children and families. Today, as she walked past the playground, she paused to observe the children's joyful energy, a smile tugging at her lips as she reminisced about her own childhood. Her moment of peace was interrupted by a troubling sight. Near the corner of the playground, right next to a prominently displayed "No Smoking" sign, a man in a police uniform was leaning casually against the railing. A cigarette dangled from his hand, thin trails of smoke curling into the air. The man, around 30 years old, had a tall but disheveled appearance and seemed indifferent to the discomfort his smoking was causing the nearby parents. Diana's expression shifted to a frown. Smoking near children not only violated local regulations, but also sent a terrible message about law enforcement's role in setting an example. Gathering her resolve, she approached him calmly but firmly. "Excuse me, sir," she began, her voice steady. "May I speak with you for a moment?" The officer, whose name tag read Officer Grant, glanced at her with disinterest, taking a long drag from his cigarette. He blew the smoke out slowly, as if to underline his indifference. He didn't answer. Undeterred, Diana continued, "This is a children's play area, and there's a no smoking sign right there. Smoking here is harmful to the children and against the rules. Please put out your cigarette." Grant's lips curled into a smirk. He looked her up and down, his eyes filled with contempt. "Who are you to tell me what to do?" he said, his tone dripping with mockery. "This isn't your turf." A few parents turned to watch the exchange, their expressions uneasy. Some quietly moved their children further away, while others whispered among themselves. Diana remained composed, though her frustration was evident in her unwavering gaze. "I don't need to remind you of your responsibilities as a police officer," Diana replied evenly. "Your job is to enforce the rules, not break them. Smoking here is irresponsible and disrespectful to the community you're supposed to serve." Grant chuckled, flicking his cigarette ash onto the ground. "Old lady, who do you think you are?" he said with a sneer. "The mayor? Mind your own business." His loud, mocking tone drew more attention. Diana's jaw tightened, but she kept her composure. Crossing her arms, she fixed him with a stern look. "Consider this your final warning. Put out your cigarette and respect the rules, or there will be consequences." Grant laughed loudly, his defiance startling some children into tears. Crushing the cigarette under his boot, he stepped closer to Diana, his voice growing menacing. "Consequences? What are you gonna do? Grandma? Call the cops on me?" "I am the cops." Diana stood her ground. "Your badge doesn't give you the right to break the law or disrespect the people you're sworn to protect." The officer's expression darkened. "You think you can talk to me like that because you're special?" he growled. "Just because your skin's different doesn't mean you get to lecture me." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Parents exchanged horrified glances, and murmurs of disbelief spread. Diana's hands clenched briefly at her sides, but she took a deep breath, keeping her voice steady. "You've not only violated public rules," she said, "but you've crossed the line of professionalism and decency. This is your last chance." Grant's response was to draw his firearm, pointing it directly at Diana. Screams erupted from the onlookers. Parents scrambled to shield their children, some running for cover, others frozen in shock. You want to lecture me now? Grant snarled. Let's see how tough you really are. Despite the deadly threat, Diana's demeanor remained calm. Slowly, she reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone, her movements deliberate. Grant's eyes narrowed. Put that down, he barked. I swear I'll. Chief Reynolds. Diana spoke into her phone, her voice steady. This is Rear Admiral Diana Carter. I need you at the Central Park playground immediately. One of your officers is brandishing a weapon and making threats. On the other end, Chief Reynolds' voice was sharp with alarm. Admiral Carter, I'm on my way. Stay calm. We'll handle this. Diana ended the call and met Grant's gaze, her expression unyielding. His bravado faltered slightly, and he took a half step back, though the gun remained in his hand. Within minutes, the wail of a siren pierced the tense silence. A patrol car screeched to a halt, and a tall, authoritative man stepped out. Chief Reynolds, a seasoned officer with a reputation for integrity, took in the scene with a grim expression. Officer Grant, what on earth is going on here? Reynolds demanded, his voice like a whip. Grant stammered, lowering the gun. Sir, I didn't know who she was. She. Enough, Reynolds snapped, pointing a gun at an unarmed civilian in a park full of children. Are you out of your mind? Diana stood silently as Reynolds turned to her, his tone immediately respectful. Admiral Carter, I'm deeply sorry for this. Rest assured, this matter will be dealt with swiftly. Diana nodded, her gaze never leaving Grant. I warned him of the consequences, she said quietly. He chose to ignore them. Reynolds' face hardened. Grant, you're suspended effective immediately. Hand over your weapon and badge. The disgraced officer hesitated, but under Reynolds' glare, he shakily complied. Murmurs of relief spread through the crowd as he was led away. The days that followed saw the incident become the talk of the community. Videos of the confrontation went viral, drawing widespread outrage and sparking discussions about abuse of power and systemic racism. Headlines like "Admiral Confronts Corrupt Cop" dominated the news, and Diana's unwavering composure was hailed as a model of courage. At a press conference called by Chief Reynolds, Diana stood before a room full of reporters. This isn't about me, she said. It's about accountability and respect. Every individual, regardless of their position, must be held to the same standard of integrity. The applause that followed was thunderous. In the aftermath, Officer Grant faced formal charges and was dismissed from the force. The community rallied around Diana, inspired by her bravery and commitment to justice. For her, the incident was a reminder of the importance of standing firm in the face of wrongdoing, a lesson she hoped would resonate far beyond the boundaries of the park that peaceful afternoon.